Chapter 1, The Hook 300 million yen. In 1968, that was roughly 300 million yen, equivalent to hundreds of millions in today's money. A Nihon Shintaku Ginko Bank transport car was carrying the year-end bonuses for hundreds of employees. And then, in broad daylight, on a public road in Tokyo, all of it vanished. The thief left not a single fingerprint. No accomplice was ever identified. No money was ever recovered. And after a 7-year investigation involving over 170,000 officers, Japan's statute of limitations ran out, and the case was officially closed. The thief got away completely clean. But to understand how someone pulled this off in under 5 minutes, you need to know what came first. Because the plan, if there was one, was almost insultingly simple. In this video, we're going to walk through exactly what happened on December 10, 1968. We'll look at what investigators found, and what they didn't. We'll examine the one suspect who came closest to being named. And at the end, I'll tell you something about this case that almost nobody outside Japan talks about, the detail that makes this story stranger than any fiction. Stay with me. Because this case gets weirder the deeper you go. Chapter 2, The Day It Happened, December 10, 1968. Tokyo. The Kokubunji branch of Nihon Shintaku Ginko, now known as Mitsubishi UFJ Trust and Banking, had prepared a special transport. Inside 4 metal boxes loaded into a Nissan Cedric sedan were the year-end bonuses for about 300 employees of Toshiba. Year-end bonus season in Japan was, and still is, a serious event. Companies paid out in cash, and the amount being moved that day was approximately 294 million yen. 4 bank employees sat in that car. They weren't armed guards, just bank workers on a routine transfer. And the route they were taking wasn't secret. It was standard. At around 9:20 in the morning, the car was stopped near Fuchu City. A motorcycle pulled up alongside them. The rider was wearing a police uniform. He told the bank workers that their branch manager's home had just been bombed. He said the vehicle might itself be booby-trapped, that there was a dynamite stick rigged beneath it. The 4 employees got out immediately. And then the man in the police uniform got into the driver's seat, smoke appeared from under the car, possibly a smoke flare, and he drove away. Within minutes, 294 million yen was gone. The entire event took less than 5 minutes. Chapter 3, The investigation begins. Police responded almost immediately. The area was sealed. Witnesses were interviewed. The motorcycle was found abandoned not far away. It had been stolen. Over the following weeks, investigators began building a picture of what had happened. The thief had worn a police uniform, carried a legitimate-looking police motorcycle, and had produced what appeared to be a warning flare beneath the car to simulate an explosive. The detail that immediately stood out, the warning about the branch manager's house being bombed, was a lie. No bombing had occurred. But in the panic of the moment, the bank employees believed it completely. This was a con. An elaborate, precisely timed con. And the person who pulled it off had clearly studied police procedure and psychology. Investigators identified one key detail, a description of the suspect. He was estimated to be around 20 years old. He had a mole under his left eye, a detail several witnesses confirmed independently. That description would drive a massive investigation, one of the largest in Japanese post-war history. Over the course of 7 years, more than 170,000 police officers were involved in the investigation. Over 110,000 individuals were questioned. The case consumed enormous resources. And yet, nothing. No arrest was ever made. But here is where the story takes a turn that investigators did not expect. And I'll get to that in just a moment, because there is one person this investigation eventually focused on. And what happened to that person raises questions that are still debated today. Chapter 4, The Suspect. If you've read about this case before, you've probably seen one name come up. And I want to be careful here, because this person was never charged, never convicted, and always maintained their innocence. But the police investigation did focus extensively on a former police officer, and specifically on someone connected to the Fuchu area, who had knowledge of police procedures, and whose physical description loosely matched witness accounts. Here is what is confirmed. Japanese police identified a key suspect, a man whose background gave him access to police uniforms, police protocol knowledge, and familiarity with the exact route the bank car used. He was connected to the Fuchu area. He had a background that, investigators believed, gave him the means and the knowledge to execute this type of deception. However, and this is the part that defines this entire case, he was never charged. The statute of limitations in Japan at the time was 7 years for most serious crimes. In 1975, 7 years after the heist, the case reached its statute of limitations. Legally, the case was closed. No one could be prosecuted. The suspect, whoever they were, was, in the eyes of the law, permanently free. And the money was never found. Chapter 5: Why it worked. If this is the kind of story you want more of, cases that sit right at the edge of what seems possible, consider subscribing. We cover Japan's most puzzling mysteries, and this one is far from the last. Now, let's talk about why this worked. Because understanding that is, in some ways, more unsettling than the heist itself. First, authority. In 1968 Japan, and honestly in many places today, a person in a police uniform giving urgent instructions is almost automatically believed. The bank employees didn't hesitate. They got out of the car. Second, urgency. The story about the branch manager's home being bombed created immediate panic. When people are afraid for their safety and the safety of their colleagues, rational analysis collapses fast. Third, the smoke. Whether it was a smoke canister or a flare of some kind, something that appeared to confirm the bomb story appeared from beneath the car. Witnesses saw it. It was real enough. Fourth, and this is the piece most people don't think about, the thief picked the right moment. Year-end bonus season. A fixed route. A predictable schedule. Whoever did this had done their homework. This was not a random crime of opportunity. This was planned. Whether by one person or more, the preparation was real. And, here's what tends to get lost in the drama of the heist itself. Japan in 1968 had no DNA testing, no widespread CCTV, no digital records of vehicle movement. Once the trail went cold, it went very cold. The physical evidence that existed, the motorcycle, the police uniform elements, some items left at the scene, was analyzed extensively. But without a match, without a confession, there was nothing to build a prosecution on. Chapter 6. The detail nobody talks about. I told you at the start there was something about this case almost nobody outside Japan discusses. Here it is. The money was never spent. Or at least, no one has ever proven that it was. Now, 294 million yen in 1968 was an enormous sum. Converting it or spending it without attracting attention would have been genuinely difficult. Japanese currency in that era was harder to anonymously exchange or deposit in large amounts than many people assume. And yet, no one ever surfaced information about the money being used. No unusual spending patterns were flagged in connection with any confirmed suspect. No informant ever came forward with credible intelligence about where the money went. There are two possibilities that investigators and historians of the case have discussed. 1. The money was hidden, physically buried or stored, and either the thief died before spending it, or it simply was never touched out of fear. 2. It was converted in ways that were never traced, spent gradually over years in untraceable cash transactions. Either way, the money, to this day, has never been officially recovered or confirmed located. That means there is a version of this story where 294 million yen, possibly buried somewhere in or around Tokyo, has been sitting untouched for over 50 years. That's the part that stays with you. Chapter 7. What this case means. The 300 million yen heist, the Mitsubishi Bank transport robbery of 1968, occupies a very specific place in Japanese cultural memory. It was not a violent crime. No one was physically harmed. The bank employees were frightened but walked away. The crime was clever, fast, and, from a purely technical standpoint, nearly perfect. That has made it, over the decades, into something complicated. The case has been fictionalized multiple times in Japanese media. It inspired novels and films. It became part of the post-war mythology of a Japan that was rapidly modernizing, and where the old certainties about order and authority were being tested. But underneath the mythology, the real story is simpler and more human. Four bank employees believed a man in a uniform. They got out of a car. And 294 million yen disappeared. The police worked for 7 years and found no one they could prosecute. The statute of limitations expired. The case closed. And, whether the person responsible lived out their life in silence, or died with the secret, or spent the money on ordinary things in ways that never drew attention, we do not know. We probably never will. What the 300 million yen case tells us is that the most audacious crimes are sometimes the simplest. And that a person who understands how authority works, how people respond to urgency and uniforms and fear, can, under the right conditions, make an entire car full of money disappear in 5 minutes. The mole beneath the suspect's eye. The stolen motorcycle. The smoke rising from under a car on a cold December morning in 1968. That is everything we know. If this case stayed with you, if you want more of Japan's real unsolved mysteries told the way they actually happened, subscribe. We're not here to sensationalize. We're here to get as close to the truth as the evidence allows. And next time, we're looking at a case from rural Japan where an entire village's testimony contradicted the official police account. And where the questions people were asking in 1980 have never been answered. That one is coming soon. Don't miss it.